Hey everyone, it's Emily and it is time for my April TBR. So I'm going to do a quick recap of the month of March and do the April rules. I'm also hoping to participate in the Magical Readathon, which I'll leave details for down below if you're not familiar. So I'll talk about that after. And yeah, March was incredibly busy, so hopefully I will be able to get the Hello 2022 Readathon vlog up that I literally filmed 2 months ago. Hopefully I'll be able to get that up and then get this video posted, or it'll be coming very shortly. It's been a time. March was busy. I got sick after traveling for a couple weekends and my boyfriend got sick. Anyway, it's been a time. But I'm gonna sneak this filming in right now while I can, so I'm gonna try to be pretty short and sweet. So let's first get into what I was reading in the month of March. So I first mentioned that I was currently reading The Obelisk Gate. I didn't actually pick this up again in the month of March, so I'm hoping to get to this in April, and we'll talk about this a bit later. I was able to read Jadefire Gold, which I believe was on the TBR officially, and this is by June C.L. Tan, so I was able to get to this. I was also able to get to Cambodian folk stories, which was one of my Cambodia reads. I'll leave, again, more details down below. So I was able to get to this. I was able to get to The Maid by Nita Prose, which I believe was also on the official TBR. I think it was for a Fairy Loot and Book of the Month book. And so yeah, I was able to get to this one, and I also was able to get to The Magnolia Palace, another Book of the Month book by Fiona Davis. And again, these are not reviews. Hopefully I'll be able to catch up on reviews relatively soon. I also listened to Well Matched by Jen DeLuca, and I am currently almost finished with, I have between an hour and 2 hours left in the audiobook for In the Shadow of the Banyan, which I'll leave an image for right here, which I believe is also on the official TBR for another global read, and so that was another Cambodia book, so I'm almost done with it, and I'm pretty confident I'll be able to finish that before the end of the month. I'm filming on the 30th right now of March, so I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get that done. And the last thing I was able to get to was The One by John Mars. Again, I'll put an image here. I was just craving something faster paced than what was on the rest of my TBR, the rest of my hopefuls for the month. And so I just decided to go for it, you know? And so that was what I read in the month of March. So I was able to read a pretty decent amount, but I am hoping to, I have big plans, big hopes for April, so let's just go ahead and jump right into the rules. And I will say, well, I've already actually filmed the roles, so going into those, one thought I had was that if I didn't get a mood read at all, that I would kind of declare that my fourth role would be a mood read, because April happens to be my birthday month, and I figured it would be a nice little treat to myself to be able to get a mood read officially on the TBR, although I'm very excited for everything that I have on my TBR. I thought it would be nice to just have one mood read in there officially on the TBR. So we'll see how that goes, and let's just jump right into the rolls. And roll 1, and that is a 4. There we go. That is a mood read. So right off the bat, I was able to get a mood read, which I was very excited about. So I'm going to go ahead and put Loveless by Alice Oseman on the official TBR as a mood read. I actually just got the audiobook to me from the library just a day or two ago, and so this is fresh in my listens from the library, and so I'm ready and excited to read this, so I will count that as my first book. And this one, I believe, follows a girl named Georgia, and I'm not exactly sure what all happens, but I think she is kind of discovering her asexuality and what that means for her and what she wants in relationships. That's really all I know at this point, but I've heard wonderful things about this, so let's get into the second roll. And roll number 2. And that is, oh, also a 4. And that is a TBR deck card. So that is Jesse's deck of TBR. I'll just give them a pretty rough shuffle here. These are already pretty well shuffled and I haven't really messed with them since. So I will just give a quick shuffle. And again, no, I'm trying to get my physical TBR down, so I'm gonna try to get something that is on my physical TBR just to help get that down. So let's pick one right here. Let's see. And this is the Love is Love card. That is a sensual LGBTQ plus romance, which is actually perfect. I have a couple of things that I'd actually been eyeing that are LGBTQ plus romances. So let me talk about a couple of those. So one was the graphic novel On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden. I believe this is a female sci-fi romance graphic novel. So that could definitely count for that. I also am eyeing The Coldest Touch. This is a fairy loot book, and I believe this also follows a female romance. And so, yeah, I will also be eyeing this, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when I talk about the Magical Readathon. I also, again, as I just mentioned, Loveless is also an LGBTQ plus romance, and so, you know, any of those can count for that. So that's perfect. So let's get into the third roll. And roll number 3. And that is a 6. Ooh, another mood read. My TBR game is being very nice to me because my third roll was another mood read. So I can again put just about anything that I had been eyeing for the Magical Readathon, or just anything that is on my TBR. So I will go ahead and once again put Dune on my TBR. I still have not started this, but I am really excited to. So I want to go ahead and put this on the TBR for this mood read slot. And this again is the second book in the Dune Chronicles. And so I'm very excited to see where the Atreides family goes after they have taken leadership over Arrakis or Dune at the request of the Emperor, and they're embroiled in a bunch of politics. So very excited to read this one. And let's get into our fourth and final roll. And roll number 4. Got a 10. Another mood read. So happy birthday to me. My TBR game is being incredibly nice for my birthday month and giving me a third mood read. So I'm going to pick City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. I want to make sure that I get this on the TBR because this is part of a buddy read from the Bookstar read along, which again I'll put details for down below. And we are going to continue to follow Clary, and she is kind of embroiled in the world of shadow hunters. When she sees a murder at a nightclub, she kind of gets involved in this world and realizes some things about who she is and who her family is, and I'm excited to continue. It was fun. I had a really good time with the first one, so I'm excited to continue, and I want to make sure that this is actually a high priority for the month. I think I also already have this audiobook checked out from the library as well. So those are the rolls, and I was able to get things that I had already been eyeing for the Magical Readathon. As I said, I will leave details for that down below, but there are a bunch of careers. So the gist of it is that you're going to a magical school and you want to figure out what career you're actually studying for at this point. And I haven't done the prep work for this, but I'll probably retroactively do the prompts for the prep work for this readathon at a later time, maybe in May, maybe over the summer or something. So I do plan to go back and do that, but I wanted to go ahead and participate this month. So there are a bunch of careers I'm eyeing, and so I'm hoping to put a bunch on this list, and that with the combo of the things I'm able to read, I could have a couple of different options later on when we are actually doing more to further our studies in that career come August. And so I'm just gonna kind of run down the list of kind of what I'm thinking about. So one of the prompts, and I'm not going to break down the careers, I might in the description kind of put the careers that I'm interested in and what prompts are needed for each one, because I want to kind of be quick about this, but one of the prompts that will fulfill some of the careers is something featuring a romance. And so, you know, there's love lists that I could put with this one. As I mentioned, there's On a Sunbeam, so we'll definitely be able to get that covered. There's a prompt for under 100 pages, and so I'm thinking about continuing on with the Saga series. I didn't grab my physical copy of it, but they're right back there. So maybe the second volume of Saga would be perfect to fulfill that. There's a prompt for quick read, which I feel like a few things could fulfill. So there is On a Sunbeam. It is a long graphic novel, but it is a graphic novel. So hopefully that could be a relatively quick read. There's also, I want to catch up on some Fairy Loots. So The Year of the Reaper is relatively short, and so I figured this would be relatively quick to get through. I'm not exactly remembering what this is about, but just a Fairy Loot that I need to catch up with. And there's also, I mentioned this one before, The Coldest Touch. This is, I believe, a female romance. One of them I think is a vampire, and the other can see people's deaths or how they're going to die or something. I'm not entirely sure. But again, a Fairy Loot that I would like to go ahead and read. So I feel like any of those could fulfill a quick read prompt because they're not very long. So another one is something featuring a healer. And if I'm not mistaken, there actually were magical healers that were in, like, they weren't main characters, but I do think there were mentions of magical healers in the first book of this. I'll need to triple check, or if you remember, let me know down below. But I think this can count for something featuring a healer, and that I already talked about before. So another one is a book set in the future, which Dune would definitely cover. So something that I mentioned above as well. And there's also something that is another prompt. So another prompt for one of the careers I'm interested in, actually I think this has been multiple of the careers I'm interested in, is something that is mythology inspired. So I definitely want to put Witches Steeped in Gold by Shannon Smart. And this, again, a Fairy Loot, and I think this is the oldest Fairy Loot that I have unread on my shelf, and I want to make sure to read it, and I believe it is inspired by Jamaican mythology, if I'm remembering correctly. So, you know, I want to go ahead and catch up, as I said, on Fairy Loot, so I figured making sure that I put the oldest one that I have unread on my TBR would be a good idea. There's also a prompt to have a book with a trope that you like, and so, again, on the theme of catching up with Fairy Loots, I'd love to put Once Upon a Broken Heart, and put that on this TBR. And this one, maybe it's not a specific trope that I particularly love, but I have enjoyed quite a few stories where there are deals that are made and the person making the deal kind of gets more than they're bargaining for. And our main character here is making a deal to kind of stop a marriage that is happening. Her true love is marrying someone else and she wants to stop that wedding. And so she's making a deal with someone that she probably shouldn't make a deal with, and I don't know what else happens. But I've heard this is super cute and just a lot of fun, and so, you know, I'll go ahead and put it there. And the last couple, one prompt is for something that includes short stories or essays. And so one book of the month one that I have yet to read is the Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green, and these are a collection of just his thoughts about random things about the age we live in. I believe I also have the audiobook, which is narrated by John Green, and I'm just excited to hear his thoughts on random things. And then the final one is a book that is intimidating, and I'm going to go ahead and put, I said I would mention it later, I'm going to go ahead and put the Obelisk Gate here. I think I'm just not in the mood for it recently. I don't think it's because I won't enjoy this book. I really think I will. I think I just haven't been in the mood for this recently. And so I've tried a couple of times Haven't really been drawn to it. So that's the only reason I'm putting it as intimidating, mostly just because I want to see if I'm in the mood for it in April. If not, I'm not going to push myself. But, you know, I at least want to give it a shot, right? So I'll go ahead and put this here. And this is the second book after the 5th season, which follows a world where there are a bunch of apocalyptic, like, events. Like, Earth has a bunch of, like, tectonic shifts and just geologic events that are happening that wreak havoc on the Earth. And there are people who have magical abilities that can help control this. But their magic is very feared. You follow a few different characters throughout this world. So I really enjoyed the first one. I am excited to continue. So I'll just go ahead and put that in the intimidating slot and we'll see what happens. So a lot that I'm eyeing for the month of April. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It is also going to be a relatively busy month, so who knows what I'll get to. But thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more bookish content, and I'll be sure to link everything I mentioned down below and my Twitter and Instagram as well. And I'll also leave more information about how you can support the Black Lives Matter movement, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone.